Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy. 4 nerds, by nerds, hang out with these nerds.
Ryan.
Nerdarchist Ted.
Nathan Nerdarch.
We had a viewer question about getting creative with spellcasting without watering down your spells.
If you want to jump down the description below, you can sign up for Nerdarchy's newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with us.
So essentially, I don't know if it was a question on Facebook or YouTube comments or an email, but it came through somewhere. One of you viewers asked, what do you do with using a create or a destroy water spell on a water creature? And then they went on to reference the Matt Mercer game from Critical Role, where one of the characters casts a spell that's supposed to have an ongoing burning ignite effect on a creature, but it was a water elemental. So Matt had ruled that, well, it's water, so it doesn't burn. So you do the initial damage, but not the round damage. So that's kind of the topic, and I wanted to delve into a little bit more because, we could talk about casting spells underwater. We could talk about using different kinds of spells and what effect it might have, and what would you do as a DM. But I'm going to start it off with, first of all, you could always just do it's magic, so it works however it works, and fire will burn. I mean, there's been
water will.
Yeah. Well, fire burns. So fire will burn on water with the right circumstances.
So in relation to that, as opposed to cinematically saying, oh, you're on fire, well, it's just boiling. The heat of the magic is what's there, and instead of there's flames and blah, 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 you can put it out. The magic, it just boils the water, and it's damaging the creature.
And you can put the tea bag in it and have some delicious tea from your water.
You'll see steam coming off of it, and it's literally having ripples.
Bubbling effect.
But don't get the wrong idea with teabagging, because that can be really painful.
So I would say with the spell, you have... the problem is if it ignites ignitable material, and that's the only way something catches fire, then that's not by magic. That's just using the natural properties of whatever you hit with it.
Yes, and then rightly so, you would just use logic, because that's what's taking place. But if it's a spell effect where you're on fire and every round you make a saving throw to not be on fire, you could easily just rule, hey, it's magic, that's how it works. Or you could do as Matt Mercer did and said, well, logically, there's nothing to still burn. So neither one of those is wrong, in my opinion. It's just how you want to play the game as your...
I tend to favor using the spell effects, but just reflavoring it by circumstance, because essentially you're robbing that character, that player, of that resource. If you're just like, the way that it says it works in the book, it doesn't work because I made this ad hoc. I think a GM, at least, it's within their right to deny things, but at least to say, if you cast a spell, this is kind of how it's going to go. Yeah.
Well, that's fair enough. You might go, hey, you can do that,
but it's going to be less effective.
It's probably not going to catch on fire because it's made of water.
Yeah. If you're using real world logic,
I will take the GM side and say, well, they are at liberty to say that. Okay, well, the players declared their action, and they can say, well, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, you're right in the sense that, would the wizard know that he wouldn't stay on fire?
Or can it check if you really want to make it?
You can go in any which way with it, and depending upon how that particular game makeup is and how those people get along, they might just say, okay, well, the style of game that I run is if you don't ask the question first, then you don't know, and therefore it's really up to the GM to make it.
And in this particular case, this GM could just end with, I'm Matt Mercer, bitches. What?
that is an option.
So
another question was...
So the other question was about the using Destroy Water on that same water elemental. Mm-hmm. Now, the actual...
what level is that spell?
It's a level 1 spell. You destroy up to 10 gallons of water in an open container within range. Alternatively, you destroy a fog on 30 feet cube within range.
So here's what I would do as a DM. I would just put it on par with other level 1 spells and be like, okay, well, it's going to do 3 die 4 or 2 die 6. Because spells do a little bit more damage in this edition.
So there is a damage by level section, either in the DMG or on your DM screen. So damage by level and severity. 1 through 4 can do 1d10 damage as a setback, 2d10 as dangerous, or 4d10 if it's deadly. So a gallon of water out of a huge size elemental, you know what? Because it's taking away part of what it is, I would actually give it the 2d10
That's what I was kind of feeling.
as a dangerous
And then
situation.
just what, for every level they bump up the destroy water, it does an extra die 10.
It depends upon what level that they put it, because this is a 1 to 4
Well,
level.
that's more for like traps and stuff from the DM's perspective.
True.
There's actual like to follow the spell format of pumping a spell up.
But can you pump that spell?
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
Okay.
when you cast a spell using a spell slot of second level or higher, you create or destroy 10 additional gallons of water, or the size of the cube increases by 5 feet from
In
zero.
that case, this is how you do it. It's a die 10, right? First level spell. Every spell level above that is another die 10. It gets to save for half. You know, like, as any other spell would probably work. Or you might rule that it's a spell attack to do it because you're hitting a creature, and there is no saving throw. They just take the damage if you hit.
Right.
So like that stuff like that is really easy. And now here's where it gets tricky. When you want to do other things like, you know, you're hitting a water creature with Cone of Cold, right? Realistically, as the DM, you might want to apply a slow effect or a paralyzed
freezing,
effect.
yeah.
You know, you might want to do something interesting like that and make the player's choice of that spell
Validated.
and more interesting as well.
Could you do a slow effect, but increase the damage on its slams, because it's now
more
hit
dense.
with ice as opposed to with water?
Well, I wouldn't want to penalize them for that. But I mean, you could go that route. I kind of feel like, you know, if it's slowed, then it's swinging slower, so maybe it doesn't have the same
It's a wash.
velocity. Yeah,
It's a wash. Yeah.
You know, and again, like the rule of cool, like will that add to the fun of the enjoyment of the game? No, because I just made your monster hit me harder. That's not really accurate.
Now, going more with the underwater
And all I
concept.
got is
for,
crappy t-shirts.
Like basically the scenario where you are changing it. I think you lose a little bit of rule for cool, because I feel like if you cast a lightning bolt underwater, there's got to be something going on.
Everybody gets it. It becomes an area of
It's
effect in
just
that line.
Basically, you're in a different place. You're not able to breathe underwater, so normally. So I mean, I see there's like you're in a different terrain. It'd be like if someone entered the plane of fire and were like, I'm just going to shoot my ray of frost because it'll be just like normal. You know, like maybe it hurts the things the same because they're fire creatures and they're going to be vulnerable to that kind of attack.
Well,
But I could see like a lessening of certain things due to certain different types of planes of existence.
Well, sure, but if you're going with like the example of casting a lightning bolt underwater, I would be like, you just nuked everybody,
So there's several different things.
and fish are floating by you.
When you decide that you're going to do an underwater scenario, be it an entire campaign or a single session or a single mission, however you're doing it, you as the DM really need to come up with how you are interpreting that underwater scenario, because either you have to say, all right, everything underwater is going to be at disadvantage because you're not aquatic and things are going to have a challenge to work. Magic is not going to work the same way, and it's going to apply the science or the logic of how whatever you're doing applies with water. Or you are going to have to say it's magic. It works the way it's supposed to because that's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah, if you want
There's the mechanics of the games. I'm not going to muck with it.
If you want to, the easy route is absolutely do
Just
that.
play it out of the book.
But like the book says, and it's magic, so it can work that way. There's nothing wrong with that. Or like you'd be like, oh, do it like Dresden Files, like it's magic up until it comes into the real world. Then it acts exactly the way that substance would work in the real world. It just. That comes into play style. Like you cast Cone of Cold underwater, like maybe you want to make a frozen, basically, ice cone of whatever. What is it? 60-foot range on that, and everything inside of it. If they fail their saving throw, they're kind of trapped. Until it melts or they can
You
get
start
free.
floating to the surface.
Yeah.
In this block.
You can use shocking grasp, but it affects you have advantage to hit, but it also affects everyone in a 5-foot radius of you, including you, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, so the lightning bolt, you could say that like everything within a 5 or 10 foot of that line is going to get it, type of thing. So, so if you were carefully aiming, it's not going to go. The ball is going to hit you.
It's going to be harder. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to hit you and possibly party members that happen to be kind of close on that line.
And you might not realize that's what's going to happen either. So that's kind of a thing. because if you're a wizard and you're not used to casting spells underwater, and how electricity works is kind of a science thing, more so than a wizard thing. Yeah, so
unless you're Mr. Wizard.
Unless you're Mr.
And
Wizard.
What about Bill Nye?
No one under 30 is going to get that, but Bill Nye would probably have it going on.
Yeah. Yeah, so then you could be like, oh, now trial and error.
It's just a matter of how much your GM wants to see the world burn, as it were. Yeah, it's really.
And I would go with a reasonable. If you've got the ability to speak and do your verbal, or if the spell doesn't have a verbal, it's magic. It's going to work the way it says in the book, just to make things simple.
And if you're water breathing, then it's just like you're breathing air. So you shouldn't have a problem saying whatever spell you want.
Then you can verbalize, and you're good to go.
Or it could come out more of a burble, because
Verbalize.
Verbalize it.
Yeah, burble.
Still works the same. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So aside from the thing with doing checks for it, I'm gonna cast lightning bolt. I was like, well, you know that, maybe as a wizard with training, that it might act differently. You're not sure how because you didn't read like a treatise on it or anything like that, but you're pretty sure something weird's going to happen that you weren't prepared for.
Right.
Can the brother get an Arcana? DC 5, 10, something like that?
So maybe a check for it, or you can just let it roll and just be like, all right, you do this.
Everybody gets nuked.
Everybody's hair is standing on end for sure.
Yeah.
But they're in the underwater, so it comes right back down. It's okay.
And then, how far does called lightning go down? Do you have to be on the surface of the water for it to hit the thing? Does it go all the way through to wherever?
Well, once it hits the water,
you're in the twilight.
Once it hits the water, it's fine. Everyone gets electrocuted.
Does it disperse?
Yeah, like the fireball.
Do less damage, or does it just do the same damage across the whole gamut? So, are there any other scenarios in this?
There's tons that you could work with, like acid orb and mouse acid arrow. Does the water wash it away? Things like that. But pretty much, I think we've covered the gist of the matter. It's magic, bitches, or you're gonna science the fuck out of it. Whatever you decide, whatever play style suits your group. That's what you should do.
Yeah, and it just behooves the dungeon master to communicate what playstyle they're going to sort of veer toward in this.
And the different environment can be just a simple kind of getting used to a new thing, because it can be like a new part of the game, getting used to this environment. But once you figured it out, it shouldn't be clogging up the game all the time from then on.
So if you guys want to weigh in on the subject, or you have some interesting stories you want to share, go ahead and put them in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, even subscribe.
Check out articles over at nerdarchy.com.
Tweet at us over on Twitter.
Also follow us over on Instagram.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.